Hello. So before the video starts proper, I just want to tell you guys that I have a new single out. It's called I Want to Be Your Girl. And it's on all streaming platforms. So Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you name it. Apple Music seems to be having a problem right now, but that should be fixed by the time you get to it. The thing is that I'm planning to release another single in a month's time, maybe 2 months. We'll see how that goes. And an album next year, so get started for that. And yeah, I just wanted to announce that on this channel because I barely said anything on here about it. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. Hello, ladies and gems and beef folk and everyone else. Today I got a special video for you in a unique setup. Today I'm going to be talking about girlcore, but more specifically, exploring girlcore as a way to express your femininity or gender expression. And this applies to everyone, not just people who want to be more feminine, but just want to explore different avenues and ways to understand yourself or understand the history. Let's just say let's call it girl culture. And this is stuff that played a role in me kind of discovering myself and getting more comfortable with myself. So I don't know, I thought it'd be an interesting topic for a video, and it gives you an excuse to talk about girlcore and the history of it, as well as just how that relates to you and how you can find yourself. Because when either you're coming out or maybe you have already kind of transitioned a while ago or done your gender affirmation journey, and you want kind of ways to okay, how can I kind of explore other avenues and expose myself to more stuff that might enrich me or might show me something that I haven't considered. And it also can be too just outfits and looks and all that stuff. It can be just whatever you can think of, so it doesn't have to be so strict. It can be just anything. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it now. Seeing as the main kind of topic of conversation is movies, I'll start with movies first. But we'll get to music later because I've written down a bunch of music stuff as well. And I did one of my last videos was a HRT first year experience thing, and I was very happy with that. But I was supposed to mention this type of stuff, and then when I forgot, I'm like, oh, why don't I just do a whole video like this? So that's where this originated. And okay, so firstly, let's start from the movies end. So I have this list called Girlcore, or The Fury of the Righteous Girlies. And essentially, this list overviews the entire history of girlcore in all its specificities. And it also has an intro which acts more like an overview for people who want to kind of verse themselves in the language before diving deep into the annals of this movement. So it is structured as I said, the intro overview. We have pre-girlcore history, we have the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and finally the 2020s. There are different subsects and runs in each decade. So for instance, we'll have stuff like princess films, like girl troops that can be just college girls or schoolgirls or any type of group of friends. We have emo stuff, we have goth stuff, we have superhero girls, we have gifted girls, we have stuff that is outside of all of those, solo stories about just working class girls or regular girls. We have deconstructive films, we have experimental films, we have all these different things, and it encompasses a wide variety of ways that a film can kind of slot into girlcore. And I think for me the criteria of the list was just something that is concerned with female expression at the forefront, or MB expression. It had to be kind of meet those two criteria, and it had to be lifting up women in some way, and it had to be camaraderie in a somewhat kind of poppy way, rather than just any good film that could have a woman in it. It had to have some sort of thing, and girls lifting each other up and girls speaking to girls about girl things usually. So that's kind of what meets the criteria. So I've picked a bunch of films here, and I'm going to use these as ways to talk about gender expression and how you can kind of use these as a way to express yourself and explore femininity or whatever suits you. Early on, when I was kind of coming into myself and understanding myself more, because a lot of your kind of growth and realizations as a person is linked to just who you are inherently and has nothing to do with this stuff. But I feel like these things help to like kind of expose me to a world that I hadn't really come to terms with yet. And I have a lot of these to thank for. So the first one I'm going to mention is Spice World. Now, Spice World is, in terms of films, like, if you're going to like watch like one film, in this whole list, I reckon it should be Spice World. Now, this is the movie that taught me a lot about girl community and kinship. I think it taught me about obviously friendship, but also roles you'll be kind of tossed into as a woman, and roles you will always try to transcend and prove wrong. Like you'll try to prove other people wrong. It's very much a film about open-ended questions and subversions and putting a bunch of stuff in and then taking away. It's very much like the mosaic of girlhood, in good and both bad ways, because it's a whole spectrum of experience and encompasses so many things. And you see the girls in the film try to like kind of grapple with their image, and I think by the end of it, they figure out that they're above like the roles that people have either put onto them or that they embody. They're not beholden to anything in particular, and like I think it's a great message. And like the people in power that kind of dominate their career are in the grand scheme of things irrelevant, and will have their time in the sun, but like they last forever, they last eternal. And I guess for me that was like very reassuring, because as a woman trans femme, I found like you can like kind of fall into like these roles and these expectations, and you get lost in things. But it teaches you to like bring the power back to yourself, and as best as you can be authentic, be yourself, do the best you can. I'd say that you might benefit from watching this film, and you might get ideas for fits, and you might get ideas for like, oh, okay, like all these girls are different and they have different things that makes them who they are. Maybe I can be that too. It also is an euphoria enhancer for sure. It definitely just feels like you're having a conversation with girls, or it's like a sleepover. And a lot of these films are kind of like sleepovers. They're like sleepovers personified. So yeah, very important text there. And if you're going to take one thing away from this, take that. So I just quickly want to mention things like Wicked, which definitely is more broad and encompassing and more of an overview, and it's more about kind of a more intimate portrayal of friendship than like Spice World is. And that's a good overview for this entire thing. And personally, it gave me kind of some ideas about, friendship can be just as romantic in its own way as love is. And love is friendship and vice versa. It's kind of strange, but it's kind of true, because both involve love in some way, just different kinds of love. And I know I find that very heartwarming. I find that very beautiful. So Wicked's definitely one for you if you want that. Now, I just quickly want to mention where Girlcore started, and if you want to get really like sort of analytical with it and like go, oh, I want to start from the start. Requiem for a Vampire or Teen Witch is the way to go, and they will kind of show you the beginnings of it, and maybe they can also be a cherry pop moment for you, because especially in Teen Witch, it's like a cherry popping moment for them, and like you could form this kind of symbiotic relationship with it. In this list that I've done, what you go through as a woman, how you mature over the years, it kind of times up with how you change as a woman. And like looking back on it, it's like, yeah, I guess that was intentional, because like when you're doing it in parts, you don't realize it, but over time you see the broad picture, it's like, oh, this is like a picture. So yeah, I think diving into the whole list is like extreme, but it would be the ultimate kind of experience and kind of education about you, the world, women around you, community, exploring your femininity. So yeah, that's something important to know. Now, here's ones I'll probably go through even quicker. Josie and the Pussycats, the High School Musical films, Bratz. Now these three ones are very important. They are kind of variations on like kind of the ones I mentioned before, like variations on stuff like Clueless, variations on something like Mean Girls. You know, they kind of like go more into the specific and more into some really bubbly kind of hyper poppy aesthetics. And like High School Musical is kind of like a bit of more of a melodrama, and like it's more sentimental to in dazzling ways. And you might realize you're a musical theater galley through that, and you might realize it's okay to kind of have one step in your inner child and one step in your adult self, and that's just kind of natural, and that's okay. And often with like things like High School Musical, and something I haven't really mentioned so far is that a lot of these films are very politically astute. A lot of them have very interesting politics in this kind of bubbly way. Like it's not too descriptive necessarily, but it's interwoven with the drama and the comedy like surprisingly well, very well. It's not even surprising. I don't know why I said that, but you'll often get insights into systems and how they can often like control people, or especially women. How they can get into this position of power and like kind of loom large over the characters, and I think that's a good way to learn about the world around you, and while also singing some songs and having some fun. So those ones are like incredible and essential, and I love them so much. And if that wasn't clear, I love it. So now we're in the 2010s era, and we have things like Sucker Punch, Vamps, Taylor Swift's Speak Now concert, which is kind of trading into 2000, but I'm counting it, and hashtag horror. Now, these films are kind of like encompass so much range. They encompass so much range. Like Sucker Punch is this like big kind of diatribe, big sweeping statement about the patriarchy and all these things like mental health with women, how you can try to transcend your scenario and trying to transcend yourself in a broken kind of in this case a mental asylum is almost impossible, and they end up transcending it, but it's only through like the worst kind of scenario, and it's simultaneously the most liberating and sad movie you could possibly watch. And then something like Vamps is a lot more lighthearted, but it's really like the modern girl movie, the modern girl movie. That's like, I can point to that one specifically as one that showed me things that I wasn't even privy to and aware of, and things that resonate with me so much that maybe were lying dormant, but I just didn't consider them as things. And like, there's a character like Alicia Silverstone's Goody is a character that I have to admit is like probably consciously was like a bit of an awakening for me in terms of like, oh, you can just this character is so neat, and it just kind of confirmed convictions I already had, but in just such a clear way, because I guess I'm like a different kind of person, and she's a different kind of person, so like it kind of synced up in that way. So love her, love that movie. Vamps, it's crazy. And the Speak Now concert, Taylor Swift, obviously. That one's just like not only fun, but that will teach you some very kind of applicable ways to be a girl, because that's a real concert that happened, and of course it's like theatrical, and it's not like completely like you're not going to see someone on the street doing that, or you're not going to like but, I mean, more people on the street should be, but I digress. But it's a good way to see like, oh, like I can be like this kind of girl that's like talks about her past, the things that have gone wrong, like how she's navigated these problems, and you know, you can be confessional, you can be intimate, you can like express your truth to everyone, and you shouldn't be judged for it. It's a very judgment-free zone. And yeah, you have like, I remember the Last Kiss number being like very, very truly emotional and very truly like this thing where I was like, oh, this is what it's all about, the sparkling lights and like the stars. And yeah, that film's like a grace from God, I'm gonna say it. Hashtag horror is definitely like, I had to include one that was more about especially with teens, like more about the social codes and the kind of some of the infighting that goes on within female spaces, within women's spaces. And you know, you see that now with like, you know, the political landscape at the moment and like the infighting that can occur. And you know, if we're trying to like improve our situation and improve our rights and all, we shouldn't be infighting. That's the last thing we should do, because that's kind of just a token in their favor, because like, oh, if they're fighting, we've done our job, they won't come after us. But we need to keep our heads up. Oh, girls, come on. But yeah, hashtag horror is like also just one of those things that the style of it and how it's telegraphed is so interesting, and so concerned in like the digital artificiality of the late 2010s and early 2020s, like that kind of era. It's escaping my mind what year it came out, but like I'm sure you can see what I'm saying about. And they kind of made this big kind of confronting statement about it, and you have to be in the mood for it, but it's very well made, and I can't for the life of me understand why it's so critically reviled, because it's like doing something that I don't really see many other films do. And that will definitely teach you, like, as much as a lot of what I talk about here is like positive and nurturing, there are some things that, you know, you have to watch that are contend with the opposite. So it's just good to have that diversity and that dichotomy. So now we have the 2020s stuff that I've decided to highlight. And just worth noting too that, you know, I couldn't include everything from the list. I'll put a link to the list in the description if YouTube will let me. I don't know, they're weird these days. Yeah, it's a selection and a curation by me. But you can go more further into it, and you know, it's a good list to kind of get, you know, I try to like make it fun, like all the posters and all this stuff, and I don't know, it's such a good eye candy for me to go through that list. I love that list so much. It was good on my part to do something like that. I'm very proud of it. Now we have movies in the 2020s, and such as like Priscilla, The People's Joker, Lisa Frankenstein, Barbie, and Madame Web. Now all of these films I've chosen because they seem to encapsulate not only the decade the most, but kind of the new era of Girlcore and where it has reached at this point, because it seems to have taken a lot from the previous decades and kind of infused it with a new kind of marker of style and aesthetic. Like taking from the past, but also inverting the past and like going deeper into it than maybe possibly they could have at the time. And that's neither makes it better or worse, it just makes it kind of a progression, as you see with like art movements. But something like Priscilla is like such a good embodiment of a film that is like, you have to really kind of vibe with it and kind of sit with it. It's less about a very telegraphed film, a very narrative-driven film. It's very much you're with her in her emotions. You are her. I remember like that's one of my first takeaways of that film when I saw it back when it came out, was you are her. And it's an important one to do because it highlights what the past has done to women, and also what couldn't happen in the future and what still happens. You know, like she couldn't even get a job, for Christ's sakes. Like, it's just ridiculous. And yeah, that film was also just such a marker for me to understand like how femininity works in real spaces and how femininity slots into real kind of hard and fast situations. Because a lot of these films, like, you know, they kind of do a sort of romanticized heightened take to kind of but with an informed real kind of perspective. So it's kind of this nice little marriage. But this one's definitely more of a kind of real spectacle. But it's still like romanticized and heightened, but just in a different way. It's definitely a new form of film. It's kind of more real, but it's also the artificial now is real. So maybe that is indeed the progression. People's Joker is just like we gotta have like more like trans queer films in the spotlight, and I had to at least include one that was explicitly about a trans woman, and that is highlights the queer community, and the People's Joker is that, and that film is something that embraces all kinds of art and all kinds of things to make a complete statement. That's a film that's kind of goes crazy with it, and eventually, you end up going through 50 different kind of personas in a way before you meet your real self at the door. And that's what the film was about to me, and the journey of the main character, and like the constantly changing style was like representative of this. So I think the People's Joker could teach you a lot about your gender expression that way, and I like how it's more kind of encompassing of the entire gender spectrum. So if you're NB or anything, you could watch it and still get as much out of it. And I'd say that also applies to Lisa Frankenstein, which it's very queer coded. Not technically specifically about a trans or queer person, but it definitely is coded in that way. So that's another one you can watch for that. And if you want a more digestible format, Lisa Frankenstein is it, but it's got that culty sort of favorite vibe. So you kind of get a bit of that off the beaten path kind of stylism to it. And then Barbie, I talked quite a lot about in the past. So if you search my name, Emma Shantiri, on Letterboxd and like go to my Barbie, you'll find more expanded thoughts on that. But that film is very much like a marker for that time it came out, but also like the time we're still living in to an extent, and like it has all of Girlcore in it in a way. That film, it has the history, and it's probably the first, like, I don't know what to call it, like new Girlcore, neo Girlcore. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a name for it. I don't know. But those are my things to throw in the hat. So if anyone wants to run with it, go ahead. But Barbie has like things in it that when I was very early in my transition, awakening into things and things I never considered, because I mentioned in my HRT video that once you start transitioning, whether you're on HRT or not, you start to fathom your place in the world and all these things, and it's like kind of a rude awakening. So it's something to be wary of, and like Barbie really captures that early phase, and that's why I don't get when people say it's kind of simplistic, because hey, everyone's experience is different, and frankly, you need something that's going to encompass a broad spectrum of emotions and experiences, and perhaps like if they ever did another one, or if like Greta Gerwig wanted to continue those ideas in a different kind of way, like a different film entirely, like, because like Mistress America, I think that's what it's called, is kind of like the prequel to Barbie, kind of and those two aren't directly related, so I think she'd probably end up doing something like that. And Madame Web is like kind of where Girlcore ends so far, in the sense of like its culmination as a movement, and it's sort of where it lies, where the balance lies. Now, there are films like Another Simple Favor, Freaky Friday 2, the new one that came out, and Honey Don't, that probably go further than it, in the sense of like what it's offering to the girl movement and what it's doing with the film. But Madame Web seems to be a film that not only does it take from the past, but it seems to be firmly in the future, with how freely it depicts female relationships, how freely it depicts neurodivergence, how it freely depicts sensory overload, how it depicts just superherodom in women, and how it depicts like becoming into the comic book ethos. Because Madame Web is about coming into the comic book ethos as a normal person, like that's why the film was never supposed to be about the early fully formed heroes and they kick ass or whatever. Like it was supposed to be like an origin story of all these women and how they come together, and it's like this beautiful thing. And I thought it was very well done in the way it was, and it just seems like the style of it
and the way it's done is like simultaneously very like populist and kind of owing to like the blockbusters of like 20, 30 years ago and now, but it's also like the way it's edited is kind of more advanced and more pointing towards something that hasn't really happened yet in movies. And everything in that movie to me, when they do that kind of editing, it always signals to something. It's always like kind of inclined in the emotionality of it and what the characters are going through at any moment. And yeah, it's like one of those things where form perfectly meets function and vice versa, you know, in all ways. So yeah, Madam Web is, if you want to skip ahead to where it ends, Madam Web is where it ends. And yeah, beautiful movie, and I wish I could just talk about that movie more. And I plan to watch it again soon because it's been a minute. But you know, with a film like that, I always find the perfect time, and like, I do think that, you know, there are a lot of other movies that are much more deserving of your score than Madam Web. Madam Web is just, you know, that girl in the corner who writes in a diary and people made fun of her, and she's the sweetest person ever. And you know, I don't know why they make fun of her. So yeah. So that's it for movies, guys. All that comes, as I said, from the Girlcore list, which, you know, will be linked down. And yeah, that is like probably the most comprehensive one I can do in this kind of video, because I would have to do a full video dedicated to that. And like, I don't know. I think it works more this way when I tie it into like a broader thing, and it makes it more personal to me. Now I'm just gonna go through some music, which I've highlighted here, that have been instrumental to exploring my gender expression, femininity, whatever, like me being trans feminine, that obviously that owes to being NBTU. So the first one I'll mention that I remember like opening up a portal was stuff like Britney Spears, Spice Girls, Carly Rae Jepsen, and just a teensy bit later, Taylor Swift. Now all of these ladies, they had such a chokehold on me. I remember that the first time I ever like wanted to dance in my room, like consciously, like was like with like Britney Spears stuff and with Carly stuff, and they were the ones that, you know, they were a bit off the beaten path. They were still like infectious and poppy and really immediate, but they had this off the beaten path kind of aesthetic that made you kind of hook onto it instantly, because there was something a little different. It was something like, there's something fresh about like their music. And then every time you realize that it's like, oh man, like a lot of pop music is like that. Like a lot of pop music is like, yeah, like immediate and like sticks in your head, but it's also like, there's so much in between about it that like makes them such brilliant, beautiful songs. You know, all the production choices and those melodies, like, and like how all these things synergize together to transfer into a feeling. You can feel in your chest, and your heart glows. That's the beauty of pop music, I think. And look, if you know anything about me, I love so much different pop music, and I'm a pop girly through and through. And you know, I'm not going to be the one to give you the kind of the smackdown of pop music that you can watch. You can watch some other videos that you know me. I'm not going to do shit like that. But what I am going to do is tell you how much these artists mean to me. I can tell you that, you know, as far as much as Britney Spears and stuff like the Spice Girls, you know, their lyrics, especially the Spice Girls, I think that their lyrics open the door and like go quite far into like that stage. You're kind of coming into yourself, and like the older you get, the more you go back to them and go, oh, there's like new things that I didn't even fathom back when I was listening to them earlier. So it's good for later when you're a bit more kind of mature, and it's good for when you're younger too, and it operates both ways. And I guess that's why it appeals so much to teens and women alike. But you have stuff later that I got into, like Sabrina Carpenter and like Taylor Swift, that is more descriptive, more kind of free-flowing with ideas, more complex, even stream of consciousness, I would say. Going into the annals of sophisticated gender expression, I want to say. Now, it's not as much of an esoteric concept as you think, but it's literally just like the millions of ways you can articulate how something makes you feel, like a boy breaking your heart, or like not being taken seriously in the industry, or like not being able to like reconcile things with her friend. So many things. They talk about so many things. And in Taylor's case, she has this very conversational style, and she goes through these situations like it was simultaneously 5 years ago and also in the moment. And she's able to kind of, which with every album, like change her approach ever so slightly, and to the point where like there's breakthroughs every so album where like the game has completely changed. And Sabrina has more humor, but there is something very tragic about it too. Like Sabrina's brand of tragic humor, yeah, and these things being kind of indistinguishable from each other is kind of like how you cope as a woman, how you manage stuff, and like that has been like eye-opening for me, you know, because she's kind of she says a lot of how we feel, and so, sure, I'm like queer, I'm like a lesbian, but a lot of it still like speaks to me. Maybe not in the way that, you know, it necessarily speaks to her, but like, you know, it transcends that. It's all kind of linked to that. And very important, and I don't know, there is something too about the sonics and the soundscapes and the instrumentals of these works that often heighten the euphoria you might get from them. And the lyrics and the production work in tandem to create this like kind of simultaneous like warm effect. That's very important when you're talking about girlcore. It's the warm effect, it's the euphoria, it's the articulations that turn into feeling. You know, like words turn into kind of like this combative feeling, because you're able to understand it now, you can really feel it, and that's what it is. Some other ones I wrote here, like April March, Slater Kinney, Ashley Tisdale, Daphne and Celeste, Christina. These are ones I found much later down the line, like probably like 2 to 3 years ago. In most of these cases, like Daphne and Celeste was like before that, but that were like kind of more about like kind of the more of the alt girls and what they were talking about, what they were going on about. Like in the case of like Daphne and Celeste, that was very much a call out of like girls who were mean, girls who were like really seething with kind of hatred, I guess. And you know, the last song of the album, Hey Boy, is about the reconciliation of these girls and how like they're aware of it, but they seem to get stuck in these traps. And yeah, Daphne and Celeste is definitely satirical, but it's also, there is some sincerity behind it that people might not give credit to. Christina, which she was definitely like, you know, one of those types that was like really hanging around like, you know, the new wave and I think New York and like all like the underground culture, but she was a pop girl through and through, and she kind of melded these two scenes, and she felt very alienated from the world, I think, and she made songs that kind of like bite back at that, and that's also amazing music, and her album Sleep It Off is a good one for that. And I think in the case of Christina especially, and Slater Kinney too, they often will give you kind of these avenues to explore more angry sides or more emotionally volatile sides, but mixed with like, you know, this tenderness and this sensitivity too. So like you get like the best of both worlds. Slater Kinney is a good way to explore feminism in a more applied way, where it is like a conscious part of the text, and it's linked to like riot girl movement, and you get such a kind of deeper set of emotional holds, and it can be quite like devastating music if it gets you in the right place. And I don't know, Slater Kinney was definitely like one of those things that got me to think about where I'm at in terms of like, oh, my understanding of like the riot girls, but also like feminism, also like beyond what is necessarily like pop music, like, because they do rock, they do pop, they do punk, they do, you know, and it's good to, once you like get through the more of these you know, surface stuff, it's good to go below, but within the surface there's a lot. In the surface there's underground, and then you can find so many things that might float your boat. And you know, the one thing that I didn't go through as much is like the more goth stuff, the more alternative girl stuff, the more kind of yeah, off the beaten path, I guess. That stuff is like so important because they fill in the cracks. If I just go, because I have my list up here too, if I just go on this list and find you some examples, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like Centrinians, like I haven't seen those yet. Like I know that's it's really bad. Don't tell anybody. Those are very important stuff. Like those movies with what are they called? The Craft. Sorry, The Craft. Gosh, I don't mean to run out of steam. But yeah, no, The Craft are very important for those types of movies. Like American Psycho 2, God, like that movie needs its flowers. That's so good. Kamikaze Girls, which is fantastic, and it's about like biker subcultures and Lolita subcultures. Like if you look at the list, you'll find more of these subculture films. You can get really deep into like how different girls from different backgrounds will express themselves and find their creative. Like the Moth Diaries, like I could keep going, but like yeah, just like not only like the more bubbly twee stuff, but also the more goth stuff. It all plays together. It all like has a great role. Just one last word before I leave you. Ashley Tisdale. She's kind of like all of those things I mentioned. Like she is kind of more bubbly, but she had a rocket era, and she had like so many things to offer. Like she encompasses almost all of the points. Like she was in High School Musical. She, as I said, she did like a pop rock album. She was in a scary movie. She was doing it all really, and she's good to explore that. And like you can even hear the Britney stuff, especially in her first album, Headstrong, I believe. So that's a good one if you want like kind of an overview in music wise of that stuff. And like I said with the movies, there's so much that it's hard to mention. And S Club is such a great to explore the spectrum. Like whether you're masculine, NB, feminine, they kind of have all those modes and swept into one in this kind of magical lens, where they were kind of trying to make the world a better place through their music. And I find that just something that lifts me up, and it was my mental health music for a while, and it still is in some ways. And I think If It's Love is like a song you should listen to if you've never listened to it before. And yeah, Steps is also like a good branch off of that and carries a lot of those concepts, although in their own kind of more plastic way, to great results, mind you. S Club is like a ride or die group for me. They'll always have a special place in my heart. I'll probably do like a full video on them because they are very important to me, and about everything about them really. Go S Club though. There's no party like an S Club party. But yeah, that's my exploring your gender expression, femininity, and the masculinity, whatever like suits you both. If you can find like how you fit into all of this, I hope it's helped you like kind of find, okay, this, she mentioned this, and like, oh, I think that's most of my style, or I'll go have a look at the list and see what she hasn't mentioned. Maybe that's more my style. But I hope this has helped you, and hopefully the kind of history of Girlcore informed both my gender expression talk. Like they kind of were symbiotic and they filled each other. I hope that's how it came across. Like I wasn't sure if it would work, so hopefully this came together okay. Yeah, please leave a comment and tell me what you thought. And yeah, I'd love to do more movies like not movies. Well, I'd like to do more movies, but that's another story. I'd like to do more videos like this, and like even another video on this topic. But this is definitely like the most comprehensive video I've done on like girlcore and gender expression and how I fit into it. And like yeah, it's just about getting all those feelings that you want to leash out and having avenues. And these are avenues like these films or this stuff. And like I didn't talk about TV shows, but like yeah, Buffy is obviously a really good example of something you can use for that too. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one, and remember, you're the coolest, cutest person there is, and like don't nobody tell you otherwise. You know, you can do it. You can do it. I promise you. Okay, peace out.